Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Seema. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Where in the world are you today?
Well, believe it or not, we are in the place that is kind of subject of our discussion. So
Excellent.
I am right in Shanghai.
Excellent. Excellent. And welcome from Shanghai. Nice to see you.
Likewise. So see, we are kind of on the opposite sides and at the same time, actually, exactly opposite time zones because it's a 12-hour difference.
That's exactly right. And, it is funny because you sometimes are here at Cure, where you also have an office. So it's nice to see you as though you are right here at Cure. Well, welcome, welcome. So, welcome, Alex. It's so great to have you. And I see that a lot of participants have joined already, so we can get started. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, or wherever you are. Happy day. I am Seema Kumar. I am the CEO of Cure, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to this very special conversation we're going to have with Alex. And I'll introduce Alex in a minute, or in fact, ask him to introduce himself. But just a little word about Cure. Cure is an innovation campus, it's a biomedical innovation campus, headquartered in New York City. And it's the building right behind me that you see. We focus on accelerating cures, and we are especially focused on taking the best of scientific discoveries and making sure that they go through the journey successfully to become cures. And in this ecosystem, the physical ecosystem behind me, we bring researchers, company, government, capital, everything all under one roof. But we have a place beyond this physical space, and that is in the digital world. And in that world, we have a combination of different stakeholders as well as members who are all part of this journey to make discoveries into cure. And Cure recently launched the Cure Innovation Index, which is one of the first evidence-based benchmarking of US biomedical translation. And we ranked institutions on which institutions are moving the best science forward towards patients. And as part of that, at Bio, we debuted the US China Biotech Competitiveness Scorecard. We drew upon the Innovation Index data, but also surveys of US academic and industry leaders. And, it's the right time because there is so much going on in terms of changes in the landscape, including what's happening in the US and what's happening in China. China has done a great job, dramatically accelerated across every dimension of biomedical innovation, both in terms of research output and clinical trial volume, as well as AI driven drug discovery and commercial BD. So, this session is about understanding where the US stands and what it'll take to stay competitive. It's not US versus China, but it's about ensuring that we all work towards being the best of what we can be. And to talk about this topic, we brought in Alex. Alex, each time I try to pronounce your last name, I have a difficulty. I'm going to do my best jobs. Zavoronov, is that correct? I
Perfect.
always say Alex.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
And you're the CEO of Insilico Medicine, which also has a little spot here at Cure. And we wanted to discuss with you your insights, being at the forefront of AI drug discovery, not only in the US, but also China and across the world. But before we jump into questions, I wanted you to introduce yourself because tell us a little bit about you, what you've done, and also about Insilico Medicine.
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity to present kind of myself, the company, and also the maybe a little bit of a sanity. We should have the sanity index where we all work towards the common goal. Um, and Hi everybody, Alex Zhavoronkov. So one thing to kind of remember about me is that the only thing I care about is how to fight aging at scale. Or in other words, extend healthy, productive longevity. Elon has his Mars, I have aging. And when aging is your main enemy and main objective, other things become kind of smaller pieces of the puzzle. And to address this kind of quest to solve aging, I started in Silico. Before that, I actually made quite a bit of money in semiconductors, in GPU specifically, working for ATI Technologies. And then realized that if you want to go after aging, you need to be a little bit more kind of broad spectrum than just one specific vertical. So worked in academia, in the industry, and then 2014 at the NVIDIA GTC conference, started in Silico. I'm Canadian and Latvian by citizenship, so if you're wondering. And uh, in 2014, at the dawn of the deep learning revolution, we realized that applying deep learning to biology, etc., biology itself, to try to capture the patterns from birth to death of any organism. So, we all have age, and if you try to predict that feature, you can capture every other feature in time, and we can use this technology to understand this biological process better, identify dual-purpose therapeutic targets that are implicated in aging and disease at the same time. And then we also realize at some point in time that you can use generative approaches to generate synthetic data with age as a generation condition, and also realize that now you can use generative AI to generate molecules with the desired properties that make perfect may make perfect drugs with the desired properties for those protein targets that you identify. And originally, we were born in Baltimore at the Emerging Technology Centers, kind of on the campus of the Johns Hopkins University, one of my alma maters. And then around 2017, we realized that, if you want to synthesize chemistry, kind of raw chemical synthesis, you can do it at scale pretty much only in India and China, if you want to do it cheaply and quickly. So just send a formula. If you're labless, if you don't have your own labs, you can quickly send a formula, get it, synthesized and even tested. So in 2019, we published a pretty powerful paper called Generative Tensorial Reinforcement Learning in Nature Biotechnology, and it spent almost a year in review. So the experiments were done in 2018, where we showed that you can synthesize the molecule with the desired properties for a given target and get it tested in mice in 46 days. At that time, that paper got pretty famous, and it was still pretty much a record, and to my knowledge, and it got pretty popular, but also got some criticism from traditional, drug hunters. And then at some point in time, we decided to actually set up a site in China as well. Originally, we came to Taiwan, so that was my kind of big pit stop. And then with J Labs, we set up a site in Shanghai. And since then, we actually started doing our own drug discovery. So tried to apply um, uh, generative AI that we discover ourselves, develop ourselves, and by the way, make publicly available, commercially available, to our own drug discovery. And since then, we actually have our performance metrics. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but since then, 31 developmental candidates. Now it's actually 32 already. 13 INDs, 8 phase ones, 3 phase twos, 1 phase three in about 6 years. So that's a pretty cool metric. Developmental candidate usually includes 28-day non-GLP toxicity studies. So it's pretty high bar. We so far have not failed an IND enabling. And we actually licensed a bunch of those therapeutics to pharma. So that's our model. And we kind of decided to structure our company in a way where we try to avoid geopolitical tensions, because nowadays, when the giants are fighting, it's better to stay away. from that fight. So we set up a site in Montreal, Canada for frontier foundation research, model research. Then we scale this AI in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. And then we kind of use Greater China, so Hong Kong, Taipei, Shanghai, Yixing, as a platform to very quickly experimentally test therapeutics. And sometimes they go
So in
all the
other
way to the
words,
clinic.
Alex,
Yeah.
in other words, you are a global company because you have, a spot, or I should say, a footprint in more than 8 different countries around the world, and you are sort of leveraging the best of the best. I just wanted to pick up on 2 or 3 things that you said about yourself and sort of string together the story of what makes it so special. So first of all, before that, on a personal note, okay, we have so many different connections. Johns Hopkins, J Labs, J&J, Cure here. So paths have crossed.
Love the Cure, by the way. Everybody who is listening, come to the Cure.
Come to
That
the
was
Cure.
an amazing platform to start. Yeah.
Yep. And so what is interesting to me is that number one, that, you mentioned aging, and somebody might think, okay, is this a longevity company? But, aging has a big relevance to cures and diseases. And because one of the biggest factors that cause disease, especially if you've taken infectious disease out of the mix, are chronic diseases that actually are a result of aging and inflammaging and aging. Aging is one of the biggest sources or causes. The longer you live, the more chances that you have disease. So, just trying to draw that connection. Second is that, you are one of the first companies that used AIs to discover a de novo new compound purely using AI, right? And that is now in phase 2 clinical trials, right?
Phase
If I'm
3.
not mistaken, phase 3. Wow, yes, great.
Yeah.
You have to update the poster here, Alex. It's now at Cure. It's in phase 3. And that is a remarkable achievement. And most recently, you you raised a huge amount of capital from actually the region in China, 888 million to be precise. If I'm misspeaking, correct me.
Actually,
And then you
China
went
was
public.
not a huge part of that, right? By
Yeah,
the way, Deerfield is one of my absolutely top investors. So we
yeah.
love Deerfield. So we actually, from the very beginning, we decided to kind of go 30, 30, 30. So 30 can be like China related, 30 Greater Asia. So Singapore is one of my great investors. So Pavilion Capital, Temasek. And then the other kind of 30 is Europe and the US. So absolutely top biotech investors in the um, uh, in most of the rounds.
Yep.
And yeah,
But you
we went public. Yeah.
recently went public, right? You
Yeah.
recently went public, and now you are, you have, you've actually licensed, your compounds, to many big, large pharmas. So, you've sort of built this and run Insilico across multiple countries. But since we're talking about the US and China, which, which people tend to think of as the top 2 leaders in this arena, what would you say in the last decade has most changed dramatically in the landscape since you started?
I think that the attitude changed a lot and policies changed a lot. Everything changed since I started. Well, first of all, uh, from the infrastructure and capabilities perspective, China has advanced considerably. So over the past 10 years, it's just, day and night. And it's not kind of somebody did not just flip a switch. It's just, tedious hard work with long-term planning that resulted in this kind of paradigm shift in the capabilities. Because originally China became kind of a service provider. So from late 90s to maybe 2010, just like in many other industries, it allowed the industry to come in, become like fabless or labless. So you can outsource much of the maybe non-essential work to service providers. And then in 2010, 2015, people started betting on more innovative therapeutics. So instead of licensing from the West, they started going after me too, me better drugs. And then maybe around 2017, 2018, the entire biotechnology industry emerged because people reinvested the profits from the CRO business into more innovative things. But still, I would say it bets more on kind of low to moderate novelty drugs with pretty low risk profile,
Yeah.
where you know that the probability of success is high,